Welcome to my channel, everybody. My name is Benjamin Poole, one of the head traders here at Verified Investing. I noticed a lot of you guys who are watching are not subscribed to the channel. So if you could do me a favor before continuing the video, just hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're liking, following, and ringing that bell so you can get notified when I post these videos. Also, if you want to see more trade setups, if you guys like technical analysis, I go live every morning at 8:45 on the verifiedinvesting.com network. So go to verifiedinvesting.com and you can find my top trade setups for the day every morning at 8:45. Okay, so a couple of different stocks that I'm going to go over today. The first one is ZS. It looks like it may have topped. What we're waiting for is an upsloping trend line that is going to break, or it looks like it's about to break. And I'm going to tell you how to play that, as well as Palantir. Palantir is one of the stocks that have been has risen quite substantially in the past. What we're looking for is a potential reversal. It also has a beautiful upsloping trend line that I'm going to draw in the charts for you to show you how I do that, and then what the expected downside target is and how to play that. And then the last one is Rigetti. Rigetti got beaten up today. It was another powerhouse. It's down over 50%. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go over some support levels for you guys on Rigetti. It's not the best looking head and shoulders pattern. It's still a head and shoulders pattern. It has a downside target of about $11. I'm going to get into that chart before the end of the video and show you what I do to draw that head and shoulders pattern, as well as how to look for a potential downside move. So the first stock we're going to go into, and by the way, I'm going to go ahead and try a different layout for you guys today. See what you guys think. Tell me what you guys think. All right, let me see if I can get back to this. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to be in the top right-hand corner. If you guys prefer a full screen view, that's fine. I can go back to this. But here's the first stock that I'm looking at, is Zscaler. This had really big news. It had good power. What I like about this stock is it's got volatility. I love to see when support and resistance levels actually work out and play according to plan, or how we draw them up. So the first thing that I want to bring your attention is for a potential top. You've got this upsloping trend line, and I'm going to connect this pivot high. This pivot high is from the 6th of September, 13th of September, connects it through this pivot top right here. And this is how I'm going to draw this trend line. So the 8th of February, connect this all the way up, and look at this. Look at how price action, as it hits this upsloping trend line, continues to get rejected. This is what I like to see when I'm doing technical analysis. Does it obey the rules? Some stocks don't really always obey the rules as well as other ones. For example, Tesla is a momentum stock, so it doesn't do as well for technical analysis. It still works, just you have to wait for a further extension. ZS looks like it does pretty well, the technicals. So here you've had this nice rounded bottom, got to this technical level, rejected, got up to this trend line again, got rejected, and now we're hitting it for the fourth time. How we can play this potential upsloping trend line is put a sell order or a short order at $333 to take advantage of a potential downside. The nice thing about an upsloping trend line is if price ends up closing above it on a daily closing basis, you can go ahead and stop out of the trade. The second thing that I'm noticing in this chart is I'm going to take this down. So I'm going to create a downsloping trend line. Sorry, an upsloping trend line for you. I'm going to take this pivot low from the 7th of April. Look at this. Take this pivot low, connect it through this price action, and you're creating this nice upsloping wedge pattern. Upsloping wedge patterns favor a move to the downside. We need a break of this upsloping trend line in order for us to take advantage of the downside move. If this upsloping trend line does break, what we'll want to do is we'll want to wait for a continuation. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit more now that I've drawn those trend lines. If we get a break of this upsloping trend line with a continuation move, let's say it gets it back down to a $308 or even lower, we're not going to enter the short there. A lot of retail investors end up shorting this as soon as it breaks this upsloping trend line. It doesn't guarantee the move down though. So what we want to do is we want to wait for another move to the downside, and then we want to wait for the retraces in the crime. So here's how it's going to look. So I'm going to take this tool right here. I'm going to go brush. So we're going to wait for a move down and then a further move down, and then wait for a retrace to the scene of the crime. And this is our short level, probably coming back up to $325 for a potential short. The beautiful part about this is we've got this converging wedge pattern that if price action gets up inside of this trend line, we can always stop out and look for a move potentially above this upsloping trend line. Now, like I've mentioned, the technicals work pretty well on ZS, so I do anticipate this being a potential short-term top with a potential downside. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for a lot of support. And so if we zoom in on the charts of ZS, look at all this price action. This created actually a bearish pattern. So there were a lot of buyers and sellers in here inside of this red bar candle. So when price action gets into this level around $270, $275, somewhere in that area, you should get a lot of buyers to step up and bid this to the upside. That would be if we got in at 325 or 322 and we took this down, this would be a 16% move to the downside. And so there are likely people who had seen this as a potential long opportunity who are now getting this at a 16% discount and willing to bid this thing up. We want to be able to take advantage of that euphoria with the markets and with all the institutions who are going to buy it at that level and wait for a move up. It could end up heading lower, could end up getting down to the $251 level. You have this really big key gap fill in the charts. Let me go ahead and zoom in for you. So this is the gap fill on the on ZS that it could go down to. And so we would just potentially navigate that trade that way. But ZS is looking like it may have topped. Still didn't go up to all-time highs, but it's still a good potential reversal. Palantir. What I love about Palantir is it has volatility as well. It has moved quite substantially. Look at this upsloping, this top pivot right here, which was a previous all-time high, dropped 25%. And then it slowly made its way up, created a new all-time high. And then look at this, another 18% drop. This means that there is a lot of fear and greed inside of this chart. So we can take advantage of that to the downside. It also has an upsloping trend line. So what I did was I connected the pivot from the 7th of April through the secondary pivot right here from the 7th of November. This is how I created this upsloping trend line. So if price action gets to this level, it is likely to bounce, probably heads back up close to the $200 even number. If we finally get a break of this upsloping trend line, then we're likely to head back to about $150 on Palantir. If we zoom out in the charts, ultimately, I think that $125 on Palantir is where I would end up buying this as a potential long play. And the reason I like that level is look at the downside move. This would be about a 40% move to the downside. Previous all-time high from 2025 or early 2025, a lot of price consolidation. So there are going to be buyers who are going to be stepping up in Palantir. So this is maybe a little bit more obscure, but if we also take this pivot high, and I've already done this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a parallel channel tool, extend this back here, take it to these highs. I may have to adjust this a little bit, but look at what ended up happening. I'm going to adjust this to the lower end. But look at how price action reacted inside of this parallel channel. Price action did get above it temporarily, got above it again temporarily on the 12th of August. Look at the midline. Look at how price action has respected the midline of this parallel channel, got below it, got to the bottom end of it, got a bounce, and now all of a sudden you're back below the midline. Upsloping parallel channels are bearish, indicating that if price action ends up breaking below this, we could have a pretty sizable fall to the downside. And so ultimately, I still like this chart. If Palantir does end up going up to 207, I love this as a potential short. Could go as high as 210, retesting the upper end of this upsloping parallel channel. But that would be, for me, the max upside. So what we're looking for is a retrace to the potential upside or a break of this parallel channel, same thing, just like any other upsloping trend line. We want to wait for a continuation move to the downside and then a retrace to the scene of the crime. It minimizes the amount of risk that we're taking on the particular trade, and it maximizes the downside with minimal risk. So our risk to reward ratio is a lot better. Rigetti is the last chart I'm going to go over. So like I mentioned earlier, this head and shoulders pattern isn't the best head and shoulders pattern. And the reason is because this shoulder is a very small shoulder. So what I'm going to do is, this is in trading view. I'm going to go to my head and shoulders pattern. I'm going to take this pivot low, connect it to the high end of the shoulder, back down to the low end, take it to the apex, and then go to the shoulder, the armpit of the shoulder, the apex of the shoulder, and then right back down. Look at this trend line. So what we have here on Rigetti is this nice break of this upsloping trend line. It finally retraced. I mean, it broke below this neckline, and then it retraced, and now we have a continuation move to the downside. How we take a measured move is we take the apex of the head down to the neckline, and then hit control and drag that all the way down from the breaking point. Look at the price action or the potential fall in Rigetti. Rigetti could get down to $11.07 if this head and shoulders pattern ends up playing out. I don't think it's really going to happen. It could get as low as $17.32. So $17.32 is where I'm looking to pick up Rigetti on a long play. You do have a couple gap fills. So 2206 is another area of support. And then a pierce of 25 is going to be a secondary support level for Rigetti. All right. So there are a couple different ways you can play trend lines. There's a couple of different ways you could play potential tops. So if you guys end up entering these trades, let me know. Let me know how it works out. I will be following these trades so I can recap on these and see if the trend lines break. And then I will institute, or I will show you where exactly to re-enter that trade. And then possibly even put a stop out, just so that way we can understand how to take the trades. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you. Again, if you enjoyed this, please make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, like, follow, share with your friends. And 8:45 every morning, the market's open. VerifiedInvesting.com is where I'll be. Have you guys day? I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you guys next time in the charts. Take care.